Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield, and I'm the Get Fit Guy. You've probably experienced this feeling. You're headed home after a stressful day of work, and the last thing you want to do is go to the gym. Or you're tired, you're hungry, your brain feels worn out, and you just feel like grabbing a glass of wine and hitting the couch with the TV remote, not working out. Or maybe you set your alarm clock with fantastic intentions to squeeze in a morning exercise session, but by the time you've made coffee, checked your email, used the bathroom, then hopped onto Facebook and Twitter, you realize that there's just no time left to fit in that workout. Well, whether it's evening stress or morning business that's keeping you from exercising and achieving your body transformation goals, this episode will tell you exactly what to do when you're too stressed to exercise. And this can be especially useful during this holiday season. First, let's look at how exercise decreases stress. In his book, Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise and the Brain, which is actually a great book that I'll link to in the show notes, John Rady describes in great detail how exercise grows brain cells, improves functioning, allows for better focus, and reduces stress. A few highlights from his book include exercising women lower their risk of dementia by 50%. Exercise can be as effective as antidepressant drugs. Kids who exercise before school versus those who exercise in the middle of the day have better test scores. Exercise has been shown in multiple studies to reduce stress and anxiety. Now, one of the reasons exercise has such a powerful effect on stress is due to its effect on something called neurotransmitters, which are the signaling molecules that your body uses to talk to your brain and vice versa. You have both inhibitory and excitatory neurotransmitters. The inhibitory neurotransmitters are called serotonin and GABA, and these primarily make you feel happy and de-stressed and can even help sleep when present in adequate amounts. However, if these hormones are depleted or low due to poor diet, lack of physical activity, or high stress, you can suffer from depression, insomnia, anger, and a vicious cycle of even more stress. The excitatory neurotransmitters are glutamate, catecholamines, beta-phenylethylamine, and dopamine. And you don't need to know how to pronounce those all, but what you should know is that in balanced amounts, these excitatory neurotransmitters help to keep you alert, thinking sharply, focused, and de-stressed. But in high amounts, they can cause more stress, panic, anxiety, and poor sleep. Now, here's where exercise fits in. The simple process of staying physically active, especially if you don't exercise too much, can help these neurotransmitters stay balanced and decrease your stress, especially when you combine exercise with a healthy diet. Now, ironically, even though exercise can do such a good job of controlling stress, sometimes you can feel like you're just too stressed to exercise. So, here are my 5 quick and dirty tips to work out when you feel overstressed. Number 1 is to stretch. And I have to admit that I personally wake up on some days and feel like a freight train is coming right at me with all of the tasks I have to accomplish. But if I jump right into emails and phone calls, I tend to get sucked into a never-ending cycle of to-do items that keeps me from controlling stress. So instead, I start every single day with the same morning stretch routine. I'll link to it in the show notes, but it includes a combination of yoga, calisthenics, and just a few bodyweight exercises. The routine only takes 10 minutes. Trust me, I've timed it many times, but I found that it accomplishes 3 things. It keeps me de-stressed, it begins my day with a habit, or what I call a ritual that keeps me focused, and finally, it makes me more likely to exercise later on in the day, because I personally tend to be an all-or-nothing type of person. Number 2 is to breathe. And if you checked out last week's episode, you know all about how to breathe the right way, using those 6 simple breathing tips that I gave you. When you feel too stressed to exercise, sometimes it's because you're simply overwhelmed by the number of things you feel like you're under pressure to accomplish. And often, this pressure can be relieved by just taking a few minutes to detach yourself and breathe. I've often had a very busy day of writing, emails, phone calls, and client meetings that leaves me feeling like collapsing in a crumbled heap when 5 p.m. rolls around. But I found that on most of those occasions, I can just go find a quiet place, close my eyes, and take anywhere from 10 to 20 deep, focused breaths. That surge of oxygen, relaxation, and a simple break from the mental strain can be energizing enough to give me the incentive to put on my running shoes and head to the gym. Number 3 is to just start something. In the same way that stress can create a vicious cycle that keeps you from exercising, getting just a few minutes of exercise in can create a positive cycle that keeps you exercising. So, on days when you feel as though you're too stressed to exercise, try any of these. For example, hop on a treadmill and tell yourself you're just going to walk or run for 2 minutes. Or get down on the ground and do just 20 crunches or 20 push-ups. Or grab your bicycle and bike just 3 times around the block. Or put in a yoga, Pilates, or workout DVD with a goal of making it through just the first 5 minutes. Or start a weight training circuit with the goal of just going through 1 time for each exercise. Now, you may be surprised at what this strategy helps you accomplish. Before you know it, you might be running 2 miles, doing 50 push-ups, or bicycling for 30 minutes, finishing the entire yoga DVD, or getting through a complete weight training circuit. Think of this as a way of fooling your stressed-out brain into exercise. My fellow Quick and Dirty Tips podcaster, Get It Done Guy, calls this technique speed dating your tasks. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, but it's a great way to break down big projects into smaller, bite-sized chunks that feel easier and less overwhelming. Number 4 is to plan ahead. If you're stressed or mentally fatigued, the simple task of planning what kind of exercise routine you're going to do can suddenly seem very complex. And if you're trying to do that at the end of a workday, it can be overwhelming enough to keep you from exercising at all. The solution to this is simple. At the beginning of each week, when you know you're not going to be stressed, for me, this is Sunday evening, plan out your entire week of workouts. I personally use a program called Evernote for this, but you can use a notepad, an email to yourself, a phone app, or anything else you find handy and convenient. Things don't need to be too complex. Just write down what you're going to do. For example, Monday, a full-body weight training circuit 3 times through at the gym. And then when, for example, before work, after work, during the lunch hour, etc. And number 5 is to keep things short. In the same way that just starting can trick your brain into doing a longer workout than you might have originally planned, having a few short workouts up your sleeve that you can squeeze in here and there can also be helpful. For example, I have a pull-up bar installed in the door of my office, and on days when I know I have way too much planned to be able to squeeze in a formal exercise session, I A, do 5 pull-ups every time I walk under that bar, B, do 100 jumping jacks just besides my desk at the end of each hour, and C, stretch in a lunging position for 10 seconds on each side after I do those jumping jacks. With this strategy, by the end of the workout day, I've done 35 to 40 pull-ups, 700 to 800 jumping jacks, and 140 to 160 seconds of high-quality stretching, all without stepping foot in a gym or feeling the pressure to take time out for a long workout. If you like the idea of short exercise sessions, you may also want to check out my episode, How to Do a 10-Minute Workout. And I'll link to that in the show notes over at quickanddirtytips.com, along with Get It Done Guy's quick stress relief tips, which include even more tips on how to control stress. And if you have more questions about what to do when you're too stressed to exercise, or you have other ideas on how to naturally relieve stress, then post them in the comments to this episode over at getfitguy.quickanddirtytips.com, or join the conversation at facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, this is the Get Fit Guy asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.